Hey, what's up, guys? Hope you're doing well today. David Glenn of davidglennrecording.com and theproaudiofiles.com. I'm going to show you a quick one today, and this is something to think about whenever you get to the hook of your song. You've heard me say before, I love things to get bigger, deeper, wider, fuller, brighter, taller, fill in the blank, whatever you want to call it. I like things to explode at the hook when it's appropriate for the song. And in this case, I have a song that it's very appropriate for things to explode. And this is the song El Nombre de Jesus by Redimidos. And it features Christine DeClario, very talented artist. And I'm going to show you a quick thing about how I set up my mix template. I route things to, in Pro Tools HD, we call them like VCAs. I'm using auxes, and I call them VCAs, but I've got an all vocals, all drums, percussion, low end, all music, high end, and all effects. Now, if I've got stylistically a rock song, I may have an all guitars or whatever, but they're going to be further up if we look here. So like background vocals, I send all the background vocals to a bus, or the strings, I send all the strings to the bus. Well, then they're getting bused to the appropriate, call it a VCA. But so strings is going to all music. You would come down here and see that the BGVs are going to all vocals. The lead would go to all vocals, but any effects like the vocal slap would go to all effects, and so on and so on. One more example, the acoustic guitars all music. Electric guitars are going to the R guitars, but then that's going to all music. You get the point. Kick, snare, toms, they go to all drums. Cymbals typically will go to a high end, although I may just send them to the all drums. It just depends on the song, the style, how I'm feeling like it's working out. But more on that to come. I've got a sweet series coming up on how I use Pro Tools mix templates. I'm going to go into Logic and create a mix template. A couple of my friends have Cubase and some other things, so I'll be sure to include everybody as best as I can. But this is kind of the final stop, the hub, where this allows me to treat the drums with independent compression to just the drums, or in some cases the shells of the drums. The low end, I may do a little bit something different to the low end at the hook, and so this allows me the opportunity to treat things one last time. All music is typically going to get the slate, SSL emulation, the gray, the FG gray, some widening, etc., etc. Sometimes the high end will get high and low pass filters put to it, and I'll automate those and do something cool with that. And then it also obviously would give me the option to automate drums up as a whole, maybe at some fills if I feel like maybe there's some stuff going on I want to lift, blah, blah, blah. I'm talking a lot. What I want to tell you about in this tutorial is all music. I've got an instance of Ozone's imager bypassed until things get to the hook. When we hit the hook, you can see here that this is going to come alive. It's going to push up a little bit of width in the low mids. The upper mids are going to get a pretty decent boost, and then the highs, in this I've got some synths where those highs get pushed up and out wide, and it just becomes this beautiful hook, we'll say. So enough talking, let me hit play, and I've got only the music in right now. So you won't hear vocals, you won't hear the drums or anything, because I really want you to hear the difference in this by itself, and then I'll unmute everything and you can feel how it just kind of comes alive at the hook. So here we go. This is going to be before the hook, and then it's going to come in, you'll see it turn on. And now let me bypass it. Back in. Very cool. So you can feel it. It gets all those things that we talked about. It's pretty sweet sounding. And let's bring everything back in just to try to get you to think outside of the box a little bit. When you get to your hooks, what's the saying? Don't bore us. Get to the chorus. We want to hear the hook. We want to feel. That's what people are going to remember. Let's make that the biggest part. I actually will most of the time mix backwards. I'll start at my big section, my hook, the vamp, whatever you want to call it, and mix that real big and sweet so that I get this high point established early in mixing, and then I'll go to the verses and kind of let them build up to the explosion. So one more time with everything in, let's hear the difference. Let's make it inactive, and let's hear it.
Él es mi esperanza.
Mi corazón en toda la canción para el que murió en la cruz.
Yeah, I don't even want to listen to that. So now let's put it back in, and hopefully it's better than what that was.
Él es mi esperanza.
Mi corazón en toda la canción para el que murió en la cruz.
I'll
Que
bypass
por
it.
mí su vida dio, venció la muerte al tercer
Back
día, me dio la vida y viviré para siempre proclamar el nombre de.
Very cool. So be thinking outside the box when you get to the hook. Try to get things to explode if that's the style of music you're working in, if it fits that. Man, I'm even doing this on acoustic tracks. Anything that I can do, small moves across the board at the hook, at the singer-songwriter, acoustic-y folk type stuff, maybe dull things out in the verse and then let them get a little bit brighter at the hook, or let there be maybe this kind of I forget which episode of Pensado's Place it was, but the guy, man, he was from Texas, and he mentioned how he'll have big drum reverbs in the verses, but then he'll close those down and make them tighter so that the drums come forward and they're more in your face at the hook. So almost the opposite of what we sometimes think is at the hook, we're like, oh, we got to have this big drum room, make everything sound big and explode. But if you think about it, what that does is it pushes it back in the mix. So different perspectives. I can see where both can apply and sound great. But just think about what you can do with the hook to differentiate it from the verses, what you can do with the bridge to differentiate it from the chorus, and how you can keep things interesting and always changing with subtle moves to bring excitement to the song, to give it some life. So hopefully you guys are taking something from that. Feel free to hit me up at david@davidglennrecording.com. Got some awesome stuff coming your way. I'm working on a tutorial series that hopefully will be out really soon, and you guys will be able to benefit from that. All kinds of stuff with the template, and how I start a mix from A to Z, and how I approach it. All kinds of good stuff. So if you like the sounds of these samples and the mixes that we're working on in these tutorials, then I think you're going to love this coming up. So we'll talk to you soon, and have a great day.